My mother dropped her glass of expensive wine when she saw the evening news. There I was on the screen, a widow who had just returned from a funeral. The anchor said, she came home alone, but she was welcomed like a hero. The whole country watched strangers carrying my bags because my own family said they did not have time. In that second, staring at the TV, they realized I did not just come home. I came home to destroy their lives without saying a single word to them. I hit send the moment the landing gear thumped into the wheel wells. It was a message to the family group chat, no dramatic punctuation, no desperate emojis, just the logistics. Flight lands at 3:00 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I had just left my husband in the ground. It was a military funeral overseas. The sharp crack of 21 guns, the folded flag, a casket that seemed to weigh more than the earth covering it, even though I was not the one bearing the weight. We had been married for 6 years. Most of those years were spent with an ocean between us. Deployments do not respect anniversaries, but love does not keep receipts. I was not asking for a parade. I just wanted a ride home. The reply buzzed in my hand before we even reached cruising altitude. My brother, we re-slammed at work. Just grab an Uber. 2 minutes later. My mother, honestly, Audrey, why did not you plan this better? Noe, how was the service? Noe, we re so sorry. Noe, we re proud of him. Just that, cold. Efficient, dismissive. I leaned my head against the plastic window, watching the plane bank over the grey cloud layer, and stared into a silence that was not born of grief. It was born of clarity. You grow up thinking family is the safety net that catches you, but sometimes they re the ones cutting the rope. I typed a single sentence in response. No worries. That was it. I did not fight. I did not guilt them. I just let the silence settle. When the wheels touched down in Denver, I did not cry. I did not beg. I pulled my trench coat tight against the mountain chill, walked past the baggage carousel, past the passengers falling into the arms of their loved ones, and stepped out to the curb. A black SUV was already idling there. Because while my family was busy, while they were judging my poor planning, they did not know who else had been on that flight with me. They did not know what I had brought back from the base, or who was waiting just beyond the headlines. That night, I did not send a follow-up text. I did not post a vague status update. But when the 9:00 news began, when their phones lit up with the live broadcast, I knew they saw it. I knew the forks froze halfway to their mouths. I knew my mother's glass of Chardonnay shattered on her kitchen tile. And I knew one thing for certain, they would never forget what I did next. The segment ran for less than 60 seconds, but that was all it took. It aired right after the weather and before the sports recap. The anchor spoke with that practiced, somber cadence, the voice used to deliver tragedy and triumph in the same breath. Today, a widow returned to Colorado from her husband's burial overseas. She arrived alone, but she certainly was not unnoticed. Then came the footage. The camera caught the black SUV at the airport curb. It showed me stepping out, dressed in black, clutching the tri-folded flag against my chest like it was the only thing holding me together. And behind me stood 3 uniformed soldiers, Army Rangers in full dress blues, 2 women and 1 man. They did not just escort me, they formed a phalanx behind me, shoulders squared, spines like steel rods. The lens zoomed in, capturing the moment I turned and handed a small, white-ribboned box to the lead officer. In an unexpected turn, the reporter's voiceover continued, Audrey Miller was met not by family, but by members of her husband's former unit, who arranged a tribute and a personal escort home. Mrs. Miller declined an on-camera interview, but she left a handwritten note for the press. The screen filled with the image of the note. My handwriting. My words. Clear and steady. If you ever find yourself standing alone at the edge of grief, do not look for the people who left you there. Look for the ones who show up anyway. A.M. They did not say my full name, but they did not have to. Everyone in that family group chat knew exactly what they were watching. The camera panned out for the final shot, me walking away, flanked by soldiers, head high, disappearing into the backseat of the vehicle. No tears, no pleading for sympathy, just dignity broadcast in high definition. In living rooms across the city, in my mother's pristine kitchen, in my brother's downtown loft, silence filled the spaces they thought were safe. They had sent a message. And now, so had I. The group chat remained dead for the next 24 hours. No reactions. No apologies. Not even a feigned "I just saw the news." But silence tells its own story, and theirs was beginning to unravel. My sister-in-law messaged me privately. Was that you on Channel 4? I did not answer. She did not ask again. But the word was spreading. The image of me, shielded by soldiers and wrapped in grief, was circulating online. And behind the scenes, the people who had left me stranded were scrambling to rewrite history. My mother tried first. She posted a vintage photo on Facebook, me and my brother, barely 7 years old, holding sparklers at a 4th of July parade. The caption read, "Family is everything. Always." I did not like it. I did not comment. I did not need to, because the top reply came from a stranger who had connected the dots. Wait, and not you, the one who did not even pick her up from the airport? The comment got shared, then pinned. Not by me, but by people who still believed loyalty was not just a word you threw around when it was convenient. Then came my brother's turn. He sent a text. One line. Did not realize it was that serious. You should have said something. I read it twice. I laughed once, a dry, hollow sound. As if grief requires an RSVP. As if burying my husband in a country they could not find on a map was something I should have packaged more conveniently for their schedule. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that, too. Finally, I just sent, "You made your choice." So did I. Family above all, always. I stared at the caption beneath the photo my mother had posted. I did not like it. I did not comment on it. I did not have to, because the top reply was from a stranger who had already connected the dots. Wait, and not you, the one who did not even pick her up from the airport? The comment was shared, then screenshot, then shared again. Not by me, but by people who still believe loyalty is a two-way street. Then came my brother's turn. His text arrived with the casual ignorance of someone who has never had to carry a flag-draped box. Did not realize it was that serious. You should have said something. I read it twice. I laughed once, a sharp, jagged sound in the empty hallway. As if grief requires an RSVP. As if burying my husband in a country whose name stumbles on their tongues was something I should have packaged more conveniently for their weekend plans. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that, too. Finally, I just sent, "You made your choice." So did I. No anger, no punctuation, just a mirror held up to their indifference. And the best part was, I did not have to say anything else. The media had already requested a follow-up segment. This time, they did not just want the footage of the walk, they wanted the story behind the silence. They wanted the widow's voice. I had not planned on speaking. I did not want the exposure. But I realized that silence often protects the wrong people. So when the station called again, asking if I'd sit down for an interview, I said yes. Not for sympathy, not for ratings, but for the truth. The interview was taped in a quiet studio in downtown Denver. No dramatic lighting, no sensational music, just a camera, a microphone, and an anchor with kind eyes and a steady, respectful tone. He asked the first question carefully. "Audrey, what went through your mind when you landed?" I took a breath, steadying myself, and released the line I'd been holding in my chest for days. I buried my husband with honor, and I came home to silence. The room went still. Even the cameraman stopped shifting his weight. I told them exactly what happened. I explained how I sent one simple message asking for a ride. I described receiving 2 replies that were colder than the wind whipping off the Rockies. I told them how I was not picked up by blood relations, but how I was surrounded by people in uniform, strangers who knew what it meant to show up when it counted. I did not name names. I did not drag my family publicly. But I did say this: a blood does not make you family. Presence does. The segment aired that night in prime time. 6 minutes. One voice. No montage, no sad piano track. Just me, raw and real. The response was instantaneous. Strangers reached out, veterans, other widows, people who said they, too, had come home to empty driveways and dark houses. But the silence in the family group chat? That changed, too. My mother left the group. No explanation, just a notification. Mom has left the conversation. My brother changed the group name from a family, Sparkling Heart, to simply a group. And me? I archived it. Because once you've been abandoned in your worst moment, you stop begging people to become who they should have already been. This story was not revenge. It was a record. And now, it lived beyond their control. It started small. A letter appeared in my mailbox a few days later. No return address, just careful, shaky handwriting. I saw you on the news. My husband never made it back from Vietnam. You made me feel less alone. Then it spread. Local veteran groups shared the clip. A Gold Star Mother's page reposted the full segment. A military spouse network reached out, offering support, flowers, and shoulders I had not asked for but suddenly found I needed. And then came the candlelight vigil. It was organized by strangers and attended by dozens, people I'd never met, but who knew the crushing weight of a folded flag. I stood in the back, my hoodie pulled up against the cold, eyes wide. They were not mourning with me, they were standing for me. They were standing for every person who ever sat alone at an airport curb when they should have been met with open arms. Someone began to sing softly. A girl, no older than 16, her voice cracking on the high notes of a ballad about coming home. I almost lost my composure. Almost. Then I saw something that steadied me. My brother was standing on the edge of the crowd. Hands deep in his pockets, head low, collar turned up. He did not speak. He did not walk over. But he saw it. All of it. He saw the way strangers showed up when family did not. He saw how a community carried the weight that blood refused to touch. The next morning, I got a text from him. No greeting. Did not think it'd get this big. I stared at the screen, thinking about everything I wanted to scream, then typed, that's the thing about grief. It either builds walls or it builds bridges. You picked your side. No reply. That was fine. This story was not for him anymore. It was for the ones watching, the ones whispering a me too. The ones who needed to know that dignity can bloom where disappointment once stood. A few weeks passed. The flowers on my porch did not stop coming. Neither did the letters. But something inside me shifted. I did not want to just be a viral story people passed around on their lunch breaks. I wanted to build something lasting. So, I did. It started with a name, the Welcome Project. A non-profit dedicated to military spouses returning home alone. We organized airport pickups, meal trains, and care teams. We did not offer pity, we offered support, the kind that actually shows up. Word spread fast. Volunteers signed up from 5 different states in the first 3 days. Someone donated a 12-passenger van. Another offered her event space for free. By week 2, we had our first official welcome team at Denver International, standing at arrivals holding a sign that simply said, "We've got you." That photo went viral. Suddenly, the Welcome Project was in newspapers and on podcasts. And guess who called? My mom. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. Her voice cracked by the second sentence. I did not know how to help. I did not think you'd want us there. I deleted it. Not out of anger, but out of peace. I did not need it anymore. Some wounds do not close because someone apologizes. They close because you stop bleeding for people who watched you drown. My brother messaged, too. A donation receipt. Small, anonymous, but I recognized the email address attached to the notification. I did not respond. This was not about guilt. It was about truth, the kind of truth that builds vans and care kits and holds signs at the gate when no one else shows up. Sometimes you do not burn bridges, you just build better ones somewhere else. Another business owner offered her event space for free. By week 2, we had our first welcome team stationed at O'Hare in Chicago, standing at the international arrivals gate holding a sign that simply read, "We've got you." That photo went viral. Suddenly, the Welcome Project was being featured in national newspapers and on podcasts. And then, guess who called? My mother. I watched the name pulse on my screen until it went dark. She left a voicemail. Her voice cracked by the second sentence. I did not know how to help, Audrey. I did not think you'd want us there. I deleted it. Not out of anger, but out of peace. I did not need the explanation anymore. Some wounds do not close because someone finally apologizes. They close because you stop bleeding for people who were content to watch you drown. My brother messaged, too. It was a donation receipt, small, anonymous. I knew it was him, but I did not respond. This was not about guilt. It was about truth, the kind of truth that buys cargo vans and assembles care kits and holds signs at the gate when no one else shows up. Sometimes you do not burn bridges, you just build better ones somewhere else. When people ask me what started it all, this project, this movement, I always smile and say, a flight that landed at 3:00 p.m. and nobody came. They called it a quiet revolution. The article made the front page of the Sunday paper. It featured a photo of me at a welcome event, my arms wrapped around a young woman holding a folded flag against her chest, her eyes red, her smile fragile. The caption read, "From grief to ground crew, how one widow changed the way we come home." The day it ran, I received a text from an unknown number. It was just a screenshot of the article. No message. No caption. But I knew the number. It was my mother S. That evening, I was invited to speak at a local memorial for military families. It was not a performance. It was not a speech. It was just a story. I stood at the podium, the air thick with the scent of beeswax candles and the chill of the evening wind. Rows of faces looked up at me, some proud, some shattered, all listening. I told them what happened, but I did not speak with bitterness. I did not name names. I did not point fingers. I simply said, I came home alone, but I did not stay that way. I talked about Mason, my husband. I spoke of his laugh, his letters, and the way he once told me, if something ever happens to me, do not let the silence win. And I had not. When I stepped off the stage, someone touched my elbow. It was a woman in pearls, her eyes wet with tears. My daughter, as she whispered. She was on your first welcome pickup in Seattle. You saved her. I shook her hand tight, holding on like that moment was the only thing that mattered. And then, in the distance, behind her shoulder, I saw them. My mother and my brother were standing by an oak tree near the park entrance. They had not been invited. They had not announced themselves. They just watched. I let them. I offered no wave, no smile. I just let the space between us fill with everything they never said. Because sometimes, punishment is not rage. It is silence. It is the feeling of being replaced. It is watching strangers applaud the daughter you forgot to meet at the gate. I used to believe closure came with an apology, a text, a phone call, a cinematic moment where the people who hurt you finally say the words they should have said when it mattered. But it did not come like that. It came quietly, one night, as I stood alone in my kitchen, folding a Welcome Project t-shirt into a care kit for another widow I'd never met. The house was calm. There were no more group chats to check. No more waiting for someone to say, we re-here. Because now, I was the one showing up. And I was never alone. The doorbell rang. It was a volunteer dropping off supplies, a young couple, newlyweds, both former military. The wife hugged me like we'd known each other forever. And I realized we had. Not in the way family does, but in the way truth does. In the way people who survive the silence find each other. I never replied to my mom's last message. I never acknowledged my brother's donation. And I never reopened that group chat. Because some people bury you in your silence, and others lift you in theirs. That is what I'll tell the next woman who asks how to survive the loneliness. I'll tell her what I learned sitting alone at that terminal. You do not rebuild by waiting for them. You rebuild by becoming what they were not. And one day, when they re-watching from the sidelines, when their phones light up with news you never sent them directly, when strangers chant your name and they realize your story no longer includes them, they'll understand. It will be too late, but they'll understand. And you'll already be walking forward. Not alone. Never again.